Hey everybody, welcome to the first flipped classroom video that we have today. Before we begin, I do want to talk about what we can do, what I expect of you when you get home. Actually, if you search up Maya, you can get a student version for free. It's a free download that lasts for 3 years for the license, which is awesome. So if you take a look at this website, you can sign up or register, select a free version, and just download it. So I don't exactly expect all of you to do that. Maybe your computer is not up to speed, doesn't have the right specs. But if you choose to, a lot of these videos that you might get more practice with, you'll get something more if you practice and do it than if you just watch, because that's probably a little bit more dry than anything. For this first video, I'm actually going to talk about the interface and just get a little bit into depth about what I think is like the actual depth of the piece and see how difficult this thing might be. Okay? If we take a look at the Maya interface, right, let's break down all the different portions. Today we talked about the channel box over here, and we also have these different tabs for different types of layers. Alright? So if I create a sphere, you'll notice that I have all of the different regular attributes here, as well as down here the input specific attributes for the sphere. Now, this channel box is controlled by this button up here, this very one on the right. If I click it or deselect it, it actually brings it back and forward. I can even click this little X to bring it out and just bring it back, hitting the same button. There's something, I can get access to these same attributes by clicking on this button up here that's called the attribute editor. We're going to use this a lot. In fact, there's a lot of different values that are controlling this piece right here. We'll talk more about the attribute editor in a moment. Over on the left, this is where we begin with all of our tools, our selection tools, right? As well as our transformation tools. So moving, rotating, and scaling are all controlled from here. However, I never use these. I always use the keyboard shortcuts. You'll notice that if I remove this and click on something else, take a look at this button. You'll notice that it actually changes. This represents the last tool used, and there's a shortcut for that. I won't tell you yet. We'll figure it out in a moment. Over here we have all the different panel layouts. If I click one of these, it gives me some of the default views. And it's not just the cameras. We have some of these other panels which are really important. So each of these that we're looking through is called a panel, or if it's a camera, it's a viewport. Okay? We have all these little menus up here for each and every viewport. And in fact, if we don't like this being, right now it's the top, if we don't like it being the top, we can make it the perspective camera as well. It's really weird because as we change this perspective, since it's the same thing, it'll actually change both. Alright, now we can do some really interesting things, since we can actually put different panels that we want in each one of these, and in fact we can pull this down and make more space, do whatever we need to. But if we ever want, come back to our default view. Right? Let's pop in here. This down here is our timeline. This is super important. Everything here we're going to go in more in depth later on. I just want to introduce you just generally. The timeline is in frames, not in seconds, but you can change how many frames per second you do, and we'll see that in a bit. On the bottom, this is MEL scripting. So if you're really into coding and you understand Maya embedded language, that's what MEL stands for, you'll be able to actually type in things for yourself. Over here is our status screen, their command line, and that's actually very useful because it tells you what's going on. So it's telling me that I actually selected the polysphere, and it says result, I created that polysphere, right? Super important. Up top, these are all of our like quick controls. I don't really use these terribly often, except for this rendering stuff. We'll get into rendering in a bit, but you'll notice that up the top we have a lot of menus. In fact, so many that my regular time and all my little icons up here don't fit. The names themselves don't even fit either. You might be a little more lucky with your higher res screen. But let's see. We have File, edit, modify, create, display, window, assets. I think most of these stay the same. But you'll see these things, mesh, edit mesh, mesh tools, normals, all of this stuff on actually changes. And you'll notice that, look at how many menus there are. Menus on menus on menus. And each one of these that has a little triangle means obviously that there's more embedded menus to choose from. And every one of these little boxes, if I click on it, brings up an options dialog box. So that's how you're going to know if you have more options to choose from. Alright? Now, here's the thing. This right here, we're in the polygons module. So if I select a different module, like the animation module, you'll notice that half of those actually change, and now I have a whole new set of menus to look through. Okay? We got so many: animation, polygon, surfaces, dynamics. Yes, we're going to be looking at physics and dynamics rendering. We have all this stuff. It's great. Now, right here we have something called the shelf. Most of the time I will be using the polygon shelf, but as with anything here, is very, very customizable. In fact, if you wanted to customize the polygon shelf, you can go right ahead and do so. But what ends up happening is that a shelf is nothing more than just a collection of just quick shortcuts, right, through the menus. So I could create the polygon sphere by clicking on this little icon in the polygon shelf, or I can do it the regular way by doing create, polygons, and sphere, right? So that's where we're at. That's the interface in general. If you ever closed out of those quick 1-minute tutorials, 30-second tutorials, and you want them back, first, every time that you delete your preferences, Maya forgets completely about what you've done, and they should show up immediately when you on launch. However, if you don't want to do that, you can also find them through the help. 1-minute startup movies. And in fact, we'll probably be looking at this one pretty soon. If you want a head start on that too, go ahead. But don't feel rushed, okay? That's been our quick tutorial about all the different interface pieces. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great weekend.